Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Handegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From the original Walk-Ons, Burbank at Nicholson, welcome to the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Handegriff, Jimmy Ott, Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio, Colucci with us from Vegas, Matt Humans with us from Vegas, LSU baseball against A&M here tomorrow night. LSU gymnastics, the national semifinals this afternoon, a 3:30 start for LSU gymnastics in their flight to get to the finals on Saturday. NBA play-ins are still going on. SEC baseball tonight, we got 2 games. NFL draft is 1 week away from today. So we got a full plate here at Walk-Ons. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
The weather's fantastic.
Okay, yeah.
The weather's just wonderful. And well, if you want crawfish, get out and boil the crawfish at this is about the time. If you want to come over here to Walk-Ons before, if you're going out to the games this weekend against Texas A&M, it's been a minute. LSU's been on the road the last 2 weeks, but head on over here to Walk-Ons before, during,
How's
and after
A&M
all the games.
handling the Schloss departure? I mean, it was kind of jolted. That was a huge storyline last year.
Last year was a disaster. They were the number 1 team in the country preseason. They retained most of what was supposed to come back after Schlossnagle left. And then they just cratered. They had a terrible first half, and then they rebounded in the second half, and it looked like they were going to sneak in to the tournament. Tell me if this is starting to sound familiar here. And then they played Missouri in the second to last week of the regular season, and one of the most unlikely series outcomes that I've ever seen covering SEC baseball. Missouri was 0-20. Missouri was 0-24. Had never seen something like that. They'd been swept in 8 consecutive series. They went to College Station and swept A&M. And then they got swept the final week of the season. They finished 3-27. They got swept 9 times and swept A&M in 1 series.
Probably a third of those losses from Missouri, too, were mercy rules.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were getting demolished.
Man.
This is a lot better for A&M. Of course, they were waiting on Schlossnagle last week. That was the series that they had pointed towards. There were people, basically hanging from the, from the lights.
Good time to catch A&M.
Yeah, and
if you believe in that, do we believe in emotional peaks and valleys and situational spots in baseball as much as football and basketball?
Maybe not as much, but it's certainly prevalent at the college level. And they beat them in the first 2 games. The Friday night game was a 1-run game, and then Sunday the weather was bad, and they tried everything. I mean, it reminded me of a regional, Jimmy. You know how when they this weather will clear. I've been in Alec Box Stadium at 2:30 in the morning. Okay, when postseason play has ended. At 17 series against Mississippi State,
Coastal,
we ended at 2:30 in the morning because they had to get it finished to keep the schedule. But in the regular season, I don't know if I've seen a more determined
on a travel day.
on a Sunday to get that thing done. They hung around there till almost 10 o'clock before they finally banged the Sunday game. So they won those 2, and they won their midweek game. They have won. They had lost that first game to Vanderbilt, but besides that, they won 10 of their last 12. So they're playing good baseball. They're a top 10, just outside the top 10, 13 RPI, and in the league, 9-5 right now is everything. I mean, the league is so jammed up at the middle that you get out and you just win a couple of extra 1-run games, and it's all the difference in the world. A&M is tied with Texas, but they hold a tiebreaker. So if the SEC tournament started today, A&M would be the number 2 seed. So it's a nice bounce back for them. But yeah, we play the emotion game and the situational stuff. We did the podcast this morning for Bet Rivers, our first for college baseball this season. And one of the games we're looking at tomorrow night is Mississippi State and Kentucky. And Mississippi State has lost 6 straight, all at home which is amazing, to Georgia and Tennessee. They go to South Carolina, who is 5-6 since they made the coaching change, and they went to Missouri last week and got a sweep. Well, South Carolina is probably not good enough to be sweeping anybody, and I didn't ever think that Mississippi State would lose 6 games in a row at home, but they did. I think State will go in there with a purpose tomorrow night at Founders Park, and I like them tomorrow night.
Yeah, the Virginia transfer has got ridiculous numbers. I don't know how many Lithuanian college pitching prospects there are, but
Tomas Valinkas, yeah,
and
they brought him with him from Bocana brought him with him from Virginia.
Bring the better players.
His first 3 SEC starts, he threw 19 innings and didn't give up a run. Not one.
But this, what can you come up in memory? A team starts 19-0 at home and loses 6 straight at home. 19-0 to 6. Now, we've seen some gaudy non-conference schedules. I mean, records built up, and then they get to SEC play.
Yeah.
And, game on, the preseason schedule, sometimes, the exhibitions. But they had a couple in there and it's just –
they played some games.
They went to Ole Miss and destroyed them.
They did.
And swept them on the road.
Their home non-conference schedule was very light. I don't think they played a team with a winning record, but they lost to UCLA in 10
Texas.
innings. In that conference, that tournament at Globe Life.
Texas? In Arlington.
At Arlington. They played. That was one of the best games of the pre-conference. So they played number 1 UCLA. They lost 8-7 in 10 innings.
Tough loss too. They had
They also beat
bang plays late.
Yeah, they also beat a very good Arizona State team at that tournament. But the stuff at Dudy Noble, Hofstra, Delaware, Lipscomb. I mean, it was every bit as.
All right, how many conference series did they play before the
3? 3.
So they only had one series before the 2 they lost.
Yeah.
Because they're halfway through.
Yeah.
So
they played.
So they're only 3-0 at home. Okay. In conference play.
I'm just checking to make sure I'm right here.
Charlie, they played 15 conference games. They couldn't have played more
that's
than
right.
3 series.
Yeah,
at
they
home
swept Vanderbilt, and then they lost they got swept in the other 2. So yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was surprised when you brought up Vandy's ace today. Whoa. Vandy's ace with a 5, north of 5 ERA, a Friday night starter. What's going on, Vandy? Did Verge have that press release in Nashville? Can't win at everything. So we winning way more football, winning more basketball. Well, you can't maintain this baseball thing, huh?
They don't have, and we've seen Vanderbilt. How many Vanderbilt aces since David Price, who I think was 2007, was his last year at Vandy. So right at 20 years. How many Vandy aces have we seen make the show?
Price,
Carson Fulmer, Walker Buehner,
Leiter,
Rocker. I'm sure we're
Whitson.
forgetting Carson Whitson. I'm sure we're forgetting some, but I mean it's like 8 to 10 guys.
That was their thing. They had
calling card.
You're dealing with some affluent families who, a free ride of, and they could stand at 11.7 because they're private. They can, cook the books and offer them more than a lot of people were willing to offer in that era. And so now it's just straight up, okay, what's the money wise? I mean, it's.
And Connor Fennell's what I call an honest pitcher. He's one of those guys, if he was pitching on Sunday, I would say, okay. On Friday, okay,
and they
it's a
just
weaker Friday.
Couldn't figure it out, or they couldn't, and they didn't want to, or they didn't want to, push their resources to try and even, see. They didn't think it was possible to compete in football, so they didn't. The facilities were lacking. The whole thing was. Now there's an emphasis on this on campus. Redid the stadium. There's so much there's a lot of things going. Man, Byington could have got the North Carolina job. I mean, they're losing a heartbreaker in the second round. They're going to Sweet 16. Back-to-back years. 2 for 2. I mean, he's kind of got it figured out in that sport. So, and their women's basketball team really much improved. So they got some things going on besides what they just used to have their steady, one little sport in the baseball.
Yeah. So we got that going on this weekend. here at the box. So come on by walk-ons as you make your way to and from the game. You stayed up late with Golden State last night?
Yeah. It was. It's just a different sport. It's veteran friendly, and you can see where veterans just they figure it out. They know how it's officiated. They know that you got to play through contact. They know you can get away with some contact. They know it's, and they're just comfortable in on the stage as well. But it was turned back to clock night in the fourth quarter, going as expected. I mean, there was even some conversations about this is not the best interest of Golden State to get into the playoffs. It's just not.
They wanted Curry to shut it down about a month and a half ago. They just don't even come back.
They're like 10 games under 500.
Yeah.
I mean, but they had Curry on a minutes restriction last night. The Clippers. It's almost like the Clippers when they traded Harden. I think they pouted a little bit because they were rolling. They had a horrible start. They were one of the best teams in the NBA, and they were rolling. And then they traded Harden, and like, oh man, what are we? And so Kawhi Leonard was doing his thing, but then Kawhi disappears in the fourth quarter. Doesn't score a point until real late.
There was a reason for that. Draymond Green, talk about turn back the clock, hit the defense he played on. Kawhi talked about it in the postgame. He's like, Draymond Green's a Hall of Fame defender. And did he have a great regular season? No. 36 years old. But last night, playoff.
Where was he for the first three when Kawhi was lighting it up? I mean, when the game's on the line, the Warriors score 40-something points.
Well,
including 4 3-pointers from Al Horford. I mean,
and Jimmy, when Steve Kerr talked before the game, like 2 days before the game, he said, "Look, my guys are on minutes restrictions." It's like, hang on, you lose this game, your season's over. No, my guys are on minutes restrictions.
They were. I said that when I was doing Otter Locks. I love the Clippers last night. And I said that this is tanking's over, but not necessarily with the Warriors. We're still getting some comments that they're not thrilled about the possibility. They'd rather take a couple ping pong balls.
And Horford, who has let me see if I can do this. Number of playoff minutes in NBA history. Where do you think Al Horford is as far as our playoff games in NBA history?
Second.
Among active players, he's third in minutes and second in games among active players.
Okay.
LeBron is obviously number one. He's got more playoff.
Who's two?
Kevin Durant. For games, Horford's actually got more. Durant's got more minutes.
Durant's teams are going deeper.
Durant's got more minutes. Horford's got more games. And then in NBA history, Horford's a top 20 playoff minutes guy.
I would have thought it'd be more.
More than, I'll just throw you a couple of names, more than John Stockton, more than Manu Ginobili, more than Dirk Nowitzki. Those guys that were in the playoffs forever. So, yeah, the old man's been around a while, but he can still play. He still knows what it takes to get
4 3-pointers in the fourth
quarter.
I
know. Not what you'd
and
expect.
Steph went nuts, too.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were down 13 when Curry came back in the game, and he was vintage Curry. I don't know how many games they can do that. How many games it's realistic that they can do that? I mean, they got to win in Phoenix on Friday night to extend this again. But for one quarter, they were Golden State again, I guess.
So, but I tell you, the play-ins have been really, really good. They've been really, really good. Even the Philadelphia Magic game was very close for most of it. Magic's they're just a puzzling team to figure out. That there's something going on there because they're better on paper than what they've transpired. Even they played Boston's JV for seeding purposes and lost on the last day of the season. I mean, it went off like a 15-point favorite and lost the game outright. So they're just a little bit disappointed. But Maxi's such a god. I mean, he's so good. And Philly's a basketball town, man, and and now you got Philly and Boston, huh? I mean,
just like Larry Bird and Dr. J, right?
You got that. It was Brad Stevens would coach. I forget the old coach for was it not Nick Nurse? Huh? For
Nick Nurse was there for a
Philly.
while.
And Stevens Philly would have the higher seed and Boston. Brett Brown, thank you, Jordan.
Yeah, nice.
There you go. Get your Jordan dropping dimes. Yes, Nurse better. Brown he would just get abused in those matches on the bench by Stevens. But anyway, it's off to a good start. It's off to a really good start, the NBA play-in/playoffs. And I don't think a whole lot of technical difficulties, and still my audio is ahead of my video. So
if I was in Philly, I'd be really excited about building around Maxkey and Edgecombe. You know, I'm trying to get out of the Paul George business as quick as I can. I know he played, last night and played pretty well, but you can't count on him and you can't count on Embiid anymore. But that young backcourt, those guys, because when they were talking about trading Edgecombe at midseason for a veteran piece, I'm like, man, no. You found a rookie that can play at that level as a rookie, and you got him cost control for a few. No, you put him next to Maxey, and you build around that. You build around that 20-year-old all-star to be. Yeah, I'm going to go that direction. We're here at Walk-Ons, across from Alibaba Stadium. Yep.
Yeah, we've got a big series this weekend. A&M and LSU, and A&M fresh off of their mini sweep of Texas at 2-0 in College Station. So weather's really good before it gets really baking over here, and it's your meeting place, man. It's just that simple. So we'll have all the other games. We'll have the NBA playoffs on all weekend long. We'll have the some Major League Baseball. How about the first place Pirates and Paul Skeens and that crew, man? Another win last night. They're looking to take 3 or 4. They're getting ready about 20 minutes from first pitch. We'll have some of the games on over here for lunch. So getaway day today in MLB. But the original walk-ons, the OG Charlie. So over here, it's the place, man. And before, during, and after. So if it gets a little warm, come back over here. And of course, they got the games streaming, all the LSU baseball games streaming as well. You got afternoon baseball. You got gymnastics today throughout the weekend. It's the spring semester sports season over here at Walk-Ons.
Live at the original Walk-Ons, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. Handycast up at YouTube on LSU Baseball. Brought to you by Supreme Rice, celebrating 90 years in business here in 2026. Go to SupremeRice.com. A week from now, we'll be talking about the start of the NFL draft. A week from today in Pittsburgh. Saints with the 8th pick in the draft. Jimmy, I know you've been doing a lot of draft prep and doing some stuff on the podcast for Bet Rivers. So with the 8th pick, a week out, anything there's your absolute best and worst case scenarios for the Saints? Anything you definitely would like them to do? Anything you are dead set against them doing with the 8th overall pick?
Yeah, running back. I mean, so I never.
Jeremiah Love, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's not going. No, I'm saying I'm just.
Well, there's nobody else that really fits today.
And he's not going to be there.
I don't think so either.
But you don't know. I mean, we've
seen stranger things happen.
I just think Charlie, you got to see this thing unfold. But as you talk about best case, I guess best case would be Tate to slide, to 8. He's the one guy that could probably be that number 1 receiver and in this draft, and they're certainly looking to build around Chuck and complement that receiving core. They're going to do it at some point. I mean, they're going to take a receiver at some point in the draft, because they did address tight end on the offseason and running back and an offensive line. So I mean they're going to take a wide receiver at some point. I just, there's just so many, that group, man, in that sort of 5 to 12 range is just so balanced, and you just kind of got to read. I mean, I'll be perfectly fine with the cornerback from LSU. I mean, perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Alontae Taylor, they need a cornerback, period. And I'm a big believer of building on the outside, man. I mean, you got good corners that you can do a lot. You look at the best corners in the league, and their defense is really good every year. Mm-hmm. Every year, you mean you can match. It's because it's the drop off from the elite cornerbacks to the rest of the guys. Yeah. Such a steep drop off. So it's a luxury that just very few in the NFL can afford to play. Worst case, I mean, I don't know. I just, again, you got to read got to take what the defense gives you. I mean, you got to read how this thing's developing. I mean, you take Bain. I'm fine with Bain.
Sure.
I mean, you're not going to get the two from Ohio State. Those guys are going to be gone. I mean, obviously, somebody's got to drop. I mean, how many times do we sit here and it's like, oh, where are these first six or these first? Something always gets shook up, and somebody's going to slide.
So for me, it's if the first three picks come down on edge rusher, a cornerback, and a wide receiver, and I'm the order of which I have to see the draft develop, but those are the top three positions that I would like to fill. So give me some options at number one, and what are my options at number two? For instance, if all three of the edge rushers are gone, if all three of those guys are off the board, and we're talking about David Bailey, Reuben Bain, and Orville Reese. And Reese is certainly going to be off the board. My dream scenario is that Bailey gets to him at 8. I think that's got maybe a 5% chance. So you get those three guys. If you don't get an edge guy in the first round, who could you get in the second round? Well, the guy I really like is Gabe Jacas from Illinois. I think there's a good chance he'll be there at 43 when they take the second one. So that would lead you towards taking either a corner or a wide receiver. What happens if you're looking for a wide receiver? You take the corner and you're looking for a wide receiver in the second round. Well, then you're into the Chris Brazzell from Tennessee, Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, Ted Hurst from Georgia State, and then the guy that Shuck wants him to draft, which is Chris Bell, who certainly fits in that spot. A little bit worried about the injury, but it was a clean tear. They feel like he'll be back. If you don't get a corner, so there are guys that rush end and wide receiver that I can fill a lot easier than filling with a corner in the second round or the third round.
Shucks gained Joe Burrow status where he's going to be the GM already.
No, he just was his teammate. That's the guy. That's what Burrow did. I don't think he has that kind of. I don't think he has that kind of stroke.
You mentioned it.
Yeah, Well,
wants him. I mean,
they asked him, and he's like, "Hey, would you?" And he said, "Oh, I'd love to have Chris Bell." They were ex-teammates. If you drop down in the second, third round with corners, it gets a little bit more, a little bit dicier. The kid Keith Abney from Arizona State would be an interesting second-day selection. The other kid from Ohio State, Ig Benson, whose name I have a hard time with, will be there on day 2. It's all, to me, the first-round pick is predicated on, if you're going to take it those three positions, it's predicated on what you can get at the other positions. The first-round pick, I'm probably going to be fine with. There's not a lot of places where they could really bad miss with that first-round pick.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't be in favor of them taking Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State, even though he's perfectly good value there. But I don't think that that's their biggest. Even with Demario Davis having lead, they put a bunch of money into Kadeem Ellis. They've already got money in Pete Werner. That's just not where I would put my first-round pick. He's a really good player. Might be a Pro Bowler. Everybody seems to like him, but he's not the biggest need at this point. And they can pair a need with value at that stage. So Styles wouldn't be my favorite pick. Maybe pretty good. And I feel the same way about Caleb Downs, who's a safety. But a lot of people don't think of him as just a straight safety. They think of him as a box player, an impact player, a guy who can do way more than just play center field. And I saw him play. I agree. Not exactly where I would go, but if they took him, okay. There's a lot of people think that he's going to be a multi-time Pro Bowler. So it would be hard for them to miss. I would predicate it based on what I think I can get in the second and third rounds.
I love one of the evaluations of Downs. One of the best tacklers. It's a lost art in football. Yes, indeed. They do so little tackling.
If you see a scouting report that says good tackler, that's something that's rare. You know what the most common line I've seen on all of these scouting reports? He's an older rookie. I've seen that on so many evaluations. He's an older rookie. He's 24 years old, or he's going to be 25 years old before next year. And it's like, okay, yeah. And I'm across the board. At a ton of these positions, he's an older rookie. And some teams put an age requirement on it, and they won't draft older rookies. That would not deter me at all, taking a 24-year-old.
Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title, Chad Reynolds and Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings, 296-0060. Full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Our great team at Legacy Title that Chad Reynolds has put together. Ashley Donald, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Mariana Haynes, Natalie and Bradford Smith. If you're buying, if you're building, if you're refinancing, nobody chooses but you. Choose our friends, a long-standing supporter here of our show, Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at the original Walk-Ons, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's time. It's now Colucci time. Dwayne Colucci is back to give his best picks on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Oh, yes, indeed. Our buddy Dwayne Colucci is back with us. We'd like to cut up on here, have a good time, but more importantly, you were busy with Dad, man, rushing him to the hospital. How's everything going, Colucci? Give us an update.
Yeah, he's hanging in there, Jimmy. You know, he had a little setback again yesterday, blood pressure orientated. He's back home, but we got a nurse coming in. And, he's doing the best he can. He had an infection, colitis in his intestines, and just tons of antibiotics and dehydration. And, a lot going on, but Mike is tough, Colucci's tough, so he's hanging in there. And definitely we're trying to get him better, in time for Delmar. That's the priority, without a doubt.
It's 90 days till opening day. Come on, Pops. Let's go, baby. Get them fluids in his body. Let's go. Yes, indeed. So, man, I'm glad you were scared. We last left you. You'd swept the board. We got back on track and swept the board. In hockey now, we're coming down to the final end of the regular season. We know how this regular season is tricky. At the end where teams they're trying to manipulate seeding and things like that. How about your Vegas Golden Knights since they made the coaching change as well? Check me if I'm wrong, but clinched the division last night. Is that right?
Yeah, playing very strong. I tell you, I am super impressed with the way Tortorella turned that around. And, Jimmy, maybe it was a matter of coaching, and maybe the locker room was a little unhappy. I mean, the team doesn't seem to be losing now. It did help that you got Carter Hartby on, between the pipes now. He's back, so that definitely took a lot of pressure off of Aiden Hill. Definitely they're playing at a high level, and especially at Fortress. And definitely they won the Pacific Division. That's very important. You want to avoid playing in Edmonton, and definitely it's good to be seated ahead of them as well as the Ducks. And, definitely could be competitive with Dallas the Wild and naturally the juggernaut Colorado. And they do have to get a tough test in the first round the way it sits right now with the Mammoth. But definitely they could do some damage. And, Jack Eichel, Mitch Marner, Stone, these guys really have to step up and help Dorofeyev and Barbashev, who have been unbelievable. Tomas Hertl, also another weapon. So this is a superstar lineup. And, when you add some good goaltending and the defense starts to play together and veterans like Riley Smith start to chip in, you're definitely going to win a lot of games. And the Vegas Golden Knights are showing that they could compete at a high level in the Western Conference, which, in my opinion, outside of the top three teams, left a little be desired. I mean, even the Kings snuck in there, Jim. So, they didn't play their best hockey this year. So, I don't know if the West could beat the East, but it's going to be interesting to see because you still do have Dallas, Colorado, and the Wild there, and now the Vegas Golden Knights that have joined that top four.
Got a six-pack of games tonight. What you looking at? Anything?
It's tough, like you said, with most of the seeding established. You're definitely seeing Edmonton at 350, 320. It's all over the board. Here at Caesars, they're minus 345. So, very difficult to lay that. But the Canucks are just a horrible, horrible team. You don't know how much the Oilers are really going to, energy-wise, are going to expand. But, when you're seeing a 345, it's definitely a game where you're going to parlay it on the puck line. The favorites are out there. You have the Colorado Avalanche. They're also minus 195 here at the resort at Summerlin at Caesars Sports. Another big favorite, Winnipeg minus 160. So, guys, I'm going to make a small parlay tonight. Nothing, off the charts, but I would definitely lay puck line Oilers, puck line Avalanche, and, I think the Ducks want to go in there with a sense of winning because they really basically blew the division in the last 2 weeks with terrible play. So I think the Ducks want to carry a little momentum. I would just lay that on the money line, which is only 125. Sorry to be giving a lot of chalk, but, definitely looking ahead. My Montreal Canadiens at a nice plus 240 in the series could definitely do some damage.
Okay. Hold on. One step at a time. You said a parlay. Are you parlaying Edmonton puck line, Colorado puck? Is that a 3-team parlay or these?
Yeah, that's all I would do. I would just dabble, maybe make a small round robin. We're giving a lot of chalk there, like you said. Ducks, Oilers, and Avalanche. Oilers and Avalanche on the puck line.
Still, a 3-teamer. Come on, Colucci. Colorado is plus money on the puck line. Let me calculate it for you. Bombs away plus 1153. Come on now.
Yeah, but you got a lot of favorites. If you just lay the money line, you look at what the payoff is. You're looking at it. You can shop around and get some good lines.
Okay, that's probably the approach. And the parlay, the money lines, and a 3-teamer, and which would be.
Now Jimmy Ott is giving money.
That's right.
Listen, it's advice. Don't listen to him. Lay the puck line Avalanche, lay the puck line Oilers. And also put on the Ducks. Make a little round robin if you're scared.
Money line parlay plays plus 256. But the other one plays.
For that matter, just bet Vancouver straight then if you want 256. That's the way I look at it. If you're scared about laying puck line on Edmonton, no, I'm serious. Just bet the other side and you'll get your 256.
All right, bombs away. Edmonton minus 1.5, Colorado minus 1.5, Anaheim money line pays about 11.5. Let's go.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. You coming back up with this is impressive to say the least.
We got to make up. We got to make up for last week. And I'll tell you the truth, guys. From a bookmaker standpoint, we've been getting destroyed between the NBA in those final 2 weeks and the NHL. We had some heavy hitters that, just had the sense of the teams that are sitting guys, that are resting, teams that were eliminated, like Columbus, that just turned their back on the season, the Detroit Red Wings, the Chicago Blackhawks. These guys were like bingo squares, basically, down the stretch. Unlike the New York Rangers and the Devils that played, they somewhat played as if they had a little emotion and a little heart. There were a few teams in hockey, guys, that just, we're done. You saw Rick Bowness. He went crazy in the Columbus locker room, just telling you straight out that my team has no heart. If I'm going to be here, I'm going to blow it up because with this current roster, we can't win. And that was a team that, with 2 weeks to go, was in a playoff position, basically.
That's interesting. So the bettors, the betting public identified. Some of them identified who's really going at it and who's laying back, even with inflated lines. I'm sure you adjusted the lines, but they still continue probably to put these like money line parlays together and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely, Jimmy. And, especially the NBA. You had a lot of teams that are just, and that's a trend in the NBA now with the final 2-3 weeks where teams just seem to give up. They want to play for lottery position. And, more than the NHL, they have to focus on rectifying this, possible penalties, possible resolutions, because, it just makes it so difficult. And you could read the lines, guys. You could see there were 7 teams out there, 19, 15, 14, and that's when a team is just not trying. Unlike the Lakers, who lost half their roster for them last week and a half, and they were playing at an exceptional level. When you lose Reeves and Luka, okay, you're betting against the Lakers, and LeBron was carrying them. You're prospecting there, whereas other teams just, teams like the Nets, they just didn't care. Sacramento, half of their unit was a triage unit through, the last month of the season. And definitely good, sharp handicappers and knowledgeable players. You don't have to be the sharpest in the world. You're going to pick this up, and you're definitely going to have those same teams basically round-robined on your parlay.
Yeah, usually you want to take all those, as many as you can, those multi-leg parlays, because it's such the odds are in so much favor in the house. But Yeah, this is, we've seen this like last year with the White Sox. I mean, you're pulling for the White Sox every day. I mean, they're improved this year, but some of those teams, and even some handicappers I listen to, like a dog or pass type of guys, usually underdog or pass, they're lining up to get some of those money line parlays as well against those teams tanking. I mean, the lines, man, 15, 16, 17-point lines in NBA games. I mean, on a regularity like crazy. Colucci, let me jog your memory. The undefeated season, Charlie, what was that for New England? The Patriots undefeated
2007.
2007. So, do you remember that they were scoring so much that some books started to take off the overs or letting you parlay New England in the over?
Oh yeah, definitely. Let me tell you something. That the correlation and the cohesion of just that New England and over bet, you had to rein it in. And I was speaking to Caesars higher ups last week. And, they were commenting on the NBA, and I was telling them I can remember back in the old days when you were in the 90s, early 2000s, where certain bookmakers, when you didn't have as many properties as Caesars, MGM Bets, FanDuel, DraftKings,
right,
you would take games off the board. When you knew that guys were sitting and they were eliminated from playoff contention, you would just take these teams off the board, and there was no option to bet, as opposed to making, say the Yankees, the Mets, 3-4 to 1. They would just be off the board. And yes, with the correlation between the Patriots and that over, you do see it still to this day. Some games where, say Notre Dame is minus 35, total of 50, you're not going to get a correlated parlay from brick and mortar shops moving forward, and you're going to get very limited even with the big bookmakers. So that's a great point you brought up, Jimmy. And back in the old days, I can remember bookmakers taking games right off the board when you knew that LeBron, Luka, Reeves, whoever else was sitting. The Knicks the other night basically sat their whole unit. You would just take that game off the board. Why suffer the liability and risk?
Yeah, it reminded me of that. And please remind my co-host here, Charlie, what you just said too. You heard what he said? It's a great point, Jimmy. Okay. It's a great point,
I didn't
Jimmy.
say that.
Max,
I just
you hear
figured
that?
it was a momentary lapse in judgment.
They kicked me to the corner. The old guy over here.
My headphones are out.
He's having another senior moment, Colucci. One of these. So he's over there trying to tell Colucci how to handicap hockey. So
I would never do that for sure.
You guys are the best. I tell you. But yes, that's a great point you made. Yes. Games have been off the board, and correlated parlays have been shut down at times.
One more in this move on. But did they limit those games in any way?
No, I really didn't see the limits.
Okay.
I'll be honest.
Okay.
Caesars was taking nice, massive bets and parlays. So yeah, no limits over here at the resort at Summerlin. Come on down and fire. I know those 2 weeks are over now, but you have to rest on your handicapping laurels because teams are really playing, and those NBA playing games were just fabulous the other night. The first night, they were just off the hook, and watch it last night, the Clippers at Golden State. Yeah, they got up to play for those games, so now it's a different landscape altogether.
And, of course, you were glued on Sunday morning, your thoughts on Sinner regaining number one in men's tennis over Alcaraz and Monte Carlo in straight sets, too.
He's a beast, I tell you. He's definitely he's a paisan, so I definitely root for Yannick.
That's right, he's Italian. Why does he not have a vowel at the end of his name? Sinner. What's up with that?
It's got to be a little short. It's got to be a little shorter. He probably had like one of them 20-letter last names with the I at the end, and he just cut it short. But yeah, Yannick is a beast, and Alcaraz as well. Those guys are just fabulous, fabulous tennis players, and they bring so much to that great sport on the men's side. And
how would you Italianize his name? How would you Italianize his name? Cinerino? I mean,
Cineriani.
Yeah, there we go. Where else can you get this, huh?
Perfect.
Yeah, we love our tennis here at Season Sports, I'll tell you that. So.
I do want you to continue in these meetings. Give us a little peek behind the curtain on some of the decisions when some people are limited on their accounts, on these mobile accounts. And it's usually when they're having success in one certain sport or whatever it is. But has that come up already in That's more the mobile
I'll
side.
be honest with you. No, I'll be honest with you. I think, I've seen them take higher limits, especially knowing our reputation and affiliation in the past with South Point and what Chris would do. But, I have not seen players limited, and we did have a player cash over $200,000 the other night, and he was not limited. Well, moving forward, they're allowing him to, bet the gamut, and I have not seen that. So, some of these horror stories, you know what I think it is? It's just the player profile and the reputation of the player are out there from so many other books that certain books just leap on and just jump on the bandwagon and don't want to do business with certain characters, whether they're on social media being unsavory and just, not presenting a true picture of what they really do and gamble. That could also come into play, but I have not seen that here since Caesars has taken over. So, credit to Caesars Sports. It's a great affiliation. Come on down and see me. We got a lot going on, and the betting menu is just off the hook. But, no, I have not seen players limited or heard players, not want to do business with Caesars.
2 weeks and 2 days from the Derby, 90 days till opening day at Del Mar. Tell Dad, a lot of people are asking about him, so we appreciate the updates and send him our love and hydrate, Dad, so we get you to the where the surf meets the turf in later in the summer. Colucci, the best. Follow Dwayne on Twitter at NYBookieDwayne.
All the best, Colucci.
NYBookieDwayne. We appreciate
Love
it, brother.
you,
Good luck to you this weekend.
Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Charlie. Say hi to everybody in fabulous Baton Rouge, and thank you for the prayers and concern. Everybody on Twitter as well reached out, that listens to me in your neck of the woods, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks a lot. Dwayne Colucci from out in Las Vegas. We're brought to you by Louisiana Health and...
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Earlier, we were going through draft scenarios. What draft scenario would upset you? Max, you found one that would upset me anyway.
I did find one.
Go ahead.
So Todd McShay put out his latest mock draft, and he does do trades in his. And it was interesting to see the first trade in the first round. He had the New Orleans Saints trading up to number 3.
You lost me.
Arvell Reese.
You lost me. You trade up. You lost me. There's nobody in this draft that I would trade up for. Nobody. And Arvell Reese might make 10 Pro Bowls. There's nobody at this point in the Saints' evolution. There's nobody I'm trading up for.
Well, next year's draft's supposed to be better anyway, so you don't want to give up.
It's not even that. It's the number of things that you got to fix. There's no. I reject that.
Well, if they're going to move.
Oh, I know. I know they're not moving
the direction
down.
they're going.
Hey, look, last year they kept all their picks and made all their picks. I would be fine with that again.
That's a novel idea.
Yeah,
Cardinals would love to trade back. They need an offensive lineman, but 3's a little early.
Call
for
Cleveland then, because I'm not interested. Hour number 2 from the original Walk-Ons, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
With Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
And we return here at the original Walk-Ons Burbank at Nicholson. Come by for a drink, something to eat before, during, after all the LSU games this weekend. 6 o'clock on Friday, 7 o'clock on Saturday, and 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon for LSU and Texas A&M, and what is a very, very important series for LSU, trying to climb back towards 500 after getting swept at Ole Miss last weekend. But you can come out and Walk-Ons anytime here during the weekend. Major League Baseball is underway this afternoon. You mentioned the Pirates won again yesterday, off to an 11-7 start. And here's starting in about 30 minutes. Angels and the Yankees. Is this the turn back the clock series for Mike Trout, or is he going to actually be able to stay healthy? Last year he played 130 games, but it was the first time he had done it since 130 is fine. But it was the first time he had done that since 19, which was his last.
Gosh.
Yeah, he hadn't
I
played
didn't
that
realize
many.
it was that bad.
It's been a long time.
I knew. I mean,
yeah, and that was his last MVP season. Was in 2019. He played 134 games that year. So last year was the tops since then, and he only got over 100 games in one of those years. But he's had a big start to the season. He and Judge have got 6 MVPs between them, and they're kind of put on a show here.
It's been unbelievable. I mean, now they're a half an hour away from Game 4, but it started on Monday night. I mean, Judge hits a home. Trout. They're down like 4 runs. He hits a home run to cut it to 1. He hits a home run to put them up 10-8. Judge comes back with a home run. The next night, again, the same thing. They're hitting. He goes oppo, to right center. I mean, just a blast to put him. The games have been unbelievable, and they would have won. The Angels would have won last night. It's 1 out in the 9th inning and pop up the short. And the second baseman comes over to try and, what's the shortstop's ball, obviously. He calls it. The shortstop just pulls off of it last minute. It's almost like he tried to show he was interested till the very last minute. Well, then the 9-hitter, he walked the number 9 hitter, the catcher, who there is almost an automatic out. And they send the runners on, because Jazz Chisholm was the lead runner. So they sent the runners with the pitch. He hits a double, walk-off, 2-run double. Thanks for shopping. I mean, talk about a heartbreaker. It's hit kill. That's been the only bad spot. But it's been fun. You got 2 really good pitchers today. Suter for the Angels. Max Fried has been outstanding. Opening day pitcher for the Yankees. And the Yankees rotation is very deep and very good. And he's the star of it. So we'll have to see, because – man, Trout, this is not totally a surprise, Charlie. He had a great spring training for what that's worth, and he's been unbelievable. Lock Hall of Famer, we know that, but where are the postseason highlights? There are none.
No,
it just reminds me, when they're going to roll this one, I think that we're going to see these battles between him and Judge going back and forth, in Yankee Stadium, on a big stage like Yankee Stadium, because there really aren't a whole lot of playoff highlights to run back on his Hall of Fame career.
I was so happy to see him back, because it's easy to forget just how good he was, because it's been so long. Judge finished in the top 5 in the MVP voting 9 consecutive years before he was 30. That's almost unheard. In other words, he had essentially 2 Hall of Fame careers before he turned 30.
You said Judge or Trout?
Trout.
Okay, you said Judge.
I said Judge. I'm sorry, I meant Trout.
Yeah.
To have 9 top 5. If you finish in the top 5 in the MVP voting, and he won 3 of them, if you finish in the top 5 in the MVP voting 5 times, there's a pretty good chance you're a Hall of Famer. Okay, if you strung together at least 5 years where you were one of the top 5 guys in the league, he did that twice before he was 30. But since he turned 30, since he turned 29, he's had a hard time staying on the field. Since the COVID year, 36, 82, 29, 119, and 130 in number of games played. And I wonder, Jimmy, there was talk for years out there about, do we really need to have this big guy playing center field every day? Would we take some miles off the odometer if we moved him to a corner infield spot, or if we just DH'd him a little bit more to try to save the legs a little bit? And when you look at what he's done after the age of 30, I just wonder. No way to prove it, but
it's not playing on AstroTurf, so it wasn't like a guy like Andre Dawson who just you kill his knees over time playing on cement basically. He has no dial back in his game, so maybe you had to take away, because he's running into the wall. He's diving for the ball. You're not taking that away. That would be reduced greatly by playing a corner infield position. He likes to run. Those mittens look stupid, but they are protecting hand injuries for sliding a lot. There's no doubt. In load management era, and sometimes they would have extended his career. There's no doubt. He's also fortunate he came in when the analytics were kind of coming, just a stat like wins above the replacement. He was so far ahead of everybody else what he brought to the table. But he's your tools guy that's built a certain way that he's going to play all out, man. And he's not going to Franco Harris and tiptoe out of bounds instead of getting that extra 2 or 3 yards, at the sideline.
No, but since you brought up Judge, okay, Judge spent 5 years in center field. He started,
which is amazing for a guy his size,
and not even
unbelievable.
And not even 5 full seasons. And the Yankees got him to the corner. He's played 225 games in his career in center field, but 739 in right field.
Judge is a nice outfielder, center fielder. He's not what Mike Trout was.
No, he's not.
Field. Okay, well, I'm saying, but just for a guy that size to be playing. Football, the outsider, the tougher positions. Then you go inside.
Yeah.
Baseball is just the opposite. Up the middle, catcher, shortstop, second, and center. For him to be playing center field, just for a team like the Yankees with an expectation team, it's just unbelievable. It's freakish. But that's smart. He is going to get hurt in center field, playing at that size.
Those premium defensive positions where you have an elite hitter. I think about Mike Piazza behind the plate. They got him to first. Cal Ripken, later in his career, they moved him to third.
The biggest is Craig Biggio.
They got him out from behind the plate. They brief stint in the outfield, and they primarily second baseman. You take the when you have an elite hitter, and Trout certainly fits the bill.
No, it's just in the Angels haven't been to, but they're better this year, and that's the story of Major League Baseball. The Nationals lineup is way better. The Pirates lineup is way better. I mean, the Diamondbacks, man, it's just fun to watch. This Angels lineup, Joe Adele, they've been waiting for a while, but he's breaking through. He's a I forget this. I think the Spanish third base, whatever. I mean, he had 3 hits Tuesday night at the Yankee Stadium. I mean, they're a different team, and that's kind of, with this new little surge of, giving these young players who hadn't played 15 games these 8-7-8-year deals. Like Detroit, like Pittsburgh, and help me out. There was a third one there, and Jackson Merrill did it a little bit deeper. He had more of a sample size, but I mean, how about them last night, the Padres? They've walked off with a grand slam, they've walked off with a 3-run homer, and then they score a 5 in the ninth. Is it 5? Yeah, to win 7-6 last night. I mean. And then you got this team in the Mets with everything that payroll again. They are ice cold and digging themselves a hole, and they're already booing in Philadelphia. It's kind of
they wake up in the morning in Philadelphia.
The A's are in first place. The Pirates are in first place.
Checks calendar. April, but still.
And you know who's got way more punch? We hear you. I hear you. Roscoe. The Indians, the Guardians, whatever, they got way more punch in their lineup this year.
And since we brought, just to circle back around to finish up the thought, we did the big top of the show, Vanderbilt baseball. Who's starting tonight? Jack Leiter for Texas, Walker Buehner for the Padres.
Rocker just started a night or two ago.
Those old
last night, huh?
Those old Vanderbilt Vanderbilt aces still banging around the league.
I know he got kind of hit a little bit in the middle, and it's Kevin Gausman's having one of his best years. He finished so strong on that. He was a big part of that Toronto run that was so close to win it at all. And keep in mind, they lost the first 2 games at home in the Seattle series. They never did. So they it's just been he's having a nice. He's in the second half of his career for sure, but he's had a nice start to this season. And it kind of picked up where he left off last year.
Yeah, 35 years old
Nola
now.
seems better, although he
seems healthier.
He is.
Yeah, that's
he's always been healthy till last year.
Yeah, Gausman. I think we had this stat earlier in the year. Since the COVID year, has not missed a start. And with an ERA of in the
gotta give him an error of that
in the middle of the threes.
You know that his pitchers have not had any type of arm injuries. At the next level.
Alan Dunn was really careful with those guys.
Yeah.
And you could almost. It was almost like 117 was where Nola got to. Like 117, boom, he's coming out of the game. Like they had it down to that, and then Gausman, and they didn't throw 117 every game, but in those key games, 117,
right.
Boom, you're off the mound. at that point.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine does, you got to do it right the first time. I wish the original construction of my home, we'd have done our last windows from Relief Windows. So built to last in these extreme South Louisiana weather conditions. The high-tech energy efficiency features for all climate zones, especially in South Louisiana with the heat, the mold, the rain, the snow, you name it. They're built using R-Last wood. The gel-wind wood frame windows come with a 20-year general warranty and a lifetime limited warranty against rot and termites. So you get the best. They look good, they are functional, and they last. Wood windows over from Relief Windows. We've got windows, doors, siding, shutters, and shades. We're open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, 288-8138. Check out all of our inventory online at reliefwindows.com.
Live at the original Walk-Ons, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And return here at Walk-Ons. Again, if you're coming by for college baseball this weekend at the Box, 6 o'clock on Friday, 7 o'clock on Saturday, 1 o'clock on Sunday. 3 games against Texas A&M. LSU in need of some victories as the weather warms up. Hopeful that they can get a little bit of Cooper Moore in this weekend. They have missed their number 2 starter, Jimmy. They've missed those solid 5 innings that he was giving them. Most SEC weekends was just it's really tough. And I said this at the beginning of the season, and not to jinx anybody, but LSU went through last year with almost no injuries. Now, it's not the only thing that's gotten them this year. But they've had some guys that have been in and out of the lineup. They missed Stanfield for a couple of weeks. They missed Moore in that number 2 hole. So when you take a key guy out, man, it makes a big difference. And last year, really none of the the top guys at the top of the lineup. Anderson never missed a start. Ianson never missed a start. Shores was a starter for half the season. He went to the bullpen. He was available every weekend. Their top 2 guys out of the bullpen, Evans and Cowan, were available all season long. Really none of the position players missed any significant time. That's partially due to good preparation and a little bit of luck. Sometimes you can do everything right. LSU football had 2 guys that in the last week and a half of spring were not doing anything wrong, not in full contact drills, not doing anything crazy, and they lose 2 guys for the year. You get a guy, a regular drill pops an Achilles, and he's going to miss the whole season. So you got to prepare as best you can. And Kiffin is diligent about this as anybody. Sometimes you just run into a little bit of bad luck.
Should we be tempering our expectations?
Depends on what your expectations are.
Playoff.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That payroll?
No.
This guy.
I think making the playoff is a perfectly legitimate expectation. If you're planning on going if your expectation is national championship or bust, I would temper that. If your expectation is they have to get in the playoffs and win 2 games, I think that's reasonable.
I think Final 8. Come on. That's where they're going to be ranked, huh? About 8?
In the preseason? I think they're probably going to be a little bit lower than that.
It's a popularity contest still? We still be on that? They're going to carry that for that long?
No, I think the other part of it is that the quarterback has missed most of spring and is coming off of a major injury. I think, and I think that's realistic, okay? If you're saying I'm going to ding LSU's preseason ranking because the quarterback is new and coming off of an injury and the coaching staff is new, I think that's fair. I don't think they're going to be much behind 8. I think they'll probably be 11, 12.
Well, they'll be in August camp for 2-3 weeks before they put out the preseason rankings.
No, they put
when are those released?
First week in August. The AP poll will be out the first week in August. They'll be in camp about a week, I would say. maybe a little bit more than
Okay.
a week. It's 7th to 10th is usually when that comes out, and maybe they'll get some reassurance at that point if Levitt comes back and practices full go in the first week, which they're expecting. But I think that they'll, even if they see him practice, they'll ding him a little bit.
I'm fair with tempering expectations a little bit. If you say Final 8, I think they're like 50-50 to make the playoff. I know they spent a lot of money on the roster. Maybe I'm not the biggest Levitt believer to begin with. Obviously, it's a great offense that he'll be installed in. But considering the injury and whatnot, considering, Aiden Anning, that injury sucked because I'm a little bit nervous about their
But your corner depth, absolutely.
Their cornerback depth.
I feel good about the first two, but after that, yeah.
And so, I think they're like 50-50 to make the playoff. As much money as they spent.
You know who else is worried about it? They are. They're talking about bringing in late portal guys, guys that were left over in the portal.
Yeah, Lane mentioned his cornerback depth on the press conference on Tuesday.
How many bases can you cover? You can
when they start camp, Charlie?
Usually the first week in August.
Okay, it's August 11th. Is 11th. Released the poll last
All right, so they'll be
year,
in about a week and a half is what they'll be in. You want to blue book it? I'm going to say 11 is where
That's
I got them. Somewhere along it, which is make the playoffs. And
what's the difference between 8 and 11?
No, not much. Not much.
I mean, when we're talking about
you think they'll be inside the preseason top 10, and I think they'll be. You think they'll be slightly inside of it. I think they'll be slightly outside of it. So we're close about that. And if you're talking about tempering expectations, if your expectations are they spent the most money, and we don't know that they did, but they're close to it. They spent the most money, so they should win the most games. Would you bring up earlier the Mets? They spent plenty of money. It's no guarantee. I think they're going to be really good.
Yeah,
I think they
Kentucky
got
basketball.
That's another good one. They spent all that money, and what was the storyline out of there when the NCAA tournament started? You didn't spend enough. You should have went and got the guy from Michigan that turned into an All-American. We don't necessarily believe that line of thinking, but that was what was coming. That was what was coming out of there. So yeah, the injury bug, man. Be as careful as you can, and sometimes it still gets you.
So you
over under 9.5. That's the line y'all have set. Jimmy's at 8. I blue booked it. Charlie's at 11.
You wrote that down, did you?
You
put that in the. You put that in the computer.
Who's closer? We'll see.
It might be closer to 10 than I think. I don't know.
I'm guessing 10. I'll split the difference.
Part of it is too is a prediction, and LSU schedule is very tough.
That's the thing. Everybody's got 9 SEC games.
So
now.
But in a power poll, I would have to have them in the top 10. If they're not, I'm sorry, I know the administration and people and the donors are expecting a top 10 team.
Absolutely,
Damn,
they are. How many games are you going to be favored in? Okay, you're going to be favored against Clemson.
No. You got. Check out Notre Dame's schedule.
Oh. Is it even softer than last year's?
You know what the win total I've heard is?
11.5?
Yes.
Yeah. It's a joke.
11.5.
I wonder if after last year they would have made it more difficult this year, considering they went 10-2 and got left out. I wonder if
they're making sure they're not getting left out this year. Quality win is not as valuable, it doesn't match the risk of a competitive game. Does not.
It's got some of the hallmarks of last year's schedule, and that you've got some big name schools that would ordinarily be quality opponents that right now are terrible. Wisconsin to lead off the season is the first one. 4 years ago, that would have been a really quality opponent. Right now, not really. Michigan State, same thing. 4 years they play them in week 3. 4 years ago, Michigan State, that'd be a really good game. They were terrible.
They're missing the A&M game.
They changed coaches.
Michigan State is at a low point.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
4 years ago, that would have been a terrific game.
You got to go further back. They had that 1 year.
The 1 year they got Mel Tucker a big contract.
You got to go back to what's his name, D'Antonio, when that was a solid program. Won the Rose Bowl, playing in New Year's Day Bowls against Alabama. Won the Big Ten. Participated in the Big Ten championship. No, Yeah, won it. Yeah, went to the playoff. Yeah. Yeah. So what a
Fitzgerald's
Rose
first
Bowl,
year.
a playoff, another New Year's Day. No, those days are gone.
You're replacing USC with BYU.
That good
That's-
team. They've
that's-
been consistent. They've been
BYU was okay last. It was a decent team last year, but I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame. You go to
They
North
can't
Carolina.
play with- they-
Some
did
years
you
North
see,
Carolina's
Did you
good,
see
but-
when they played, in a revenge spot against Texas Tech? I mean, Texas Tech, who couldn't compete in the playoffs, got pushed around by Oregon. Absolutely pushed around, and BYU could not stay on the field with Texas Tech. It was kind of the Big 12 was tricky last year. It was fun. You have a bunch of they have a distinct home field advantage in that altitude. We've seen that enough. But BYU is they are spending more. They have picked up. They're in a real league now, and they are committed to football and basketball, giving them a lot. Not ridiculous, not what LSU did this year, but still they're so far off. Of
Your non-conference
matching
game?
up with the elite.
Your non-ACC games are not in a conference. Rice is terrible. And then
Is there any game that's going to be a single-digit favorite at BYU?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I
Miami
guess.
at home.
Miami at home.
Maybe. We don't know who they're.
Her favorite, Miami on the road last year.
they'll be
Miami's got a
single-digit.
veteran quarterback this time, but I think that'll.
Didn't they have
Yeah,
a
I
veteran
think that'll.
quarterback last year?
They did. Yeah,
okay.
you're right.
They only had like 40 starts.
Yeah, I like the guy they got going in there. He's pretty good, but I would say that they would be less than a 10-point favorite at home against Miami, but
That game is deep. It's not game
It's in
one.
November.
There's a lot to be determined on what that spread's going to be. If
Yeah.
you put it out right now, I would say it's 9.
okay, you're close. No, the next best team on their schedule is probably SMU.
Yeah.
Who was 8-4
There you
last
go.
year? And you're playing the absolute bottom of the Stanford and Syracuse
Yes.
and Boston College,
Yes.
Rice, Purdue. Sorry, Gordy. You're playing the absolute bottom of the
Yeah,
bottom.
their Big Ten opponents are Wisconsin,
and
Michigan State, and Purdue.
Yeah, the bottom.
Michigan, that series is gone. Huh? Yeah.
Michigan's gone. USC's gone.
USC, yeah, the newbie.
That was the one. I mean,
This is from CBS
playing that
Sports.
since Newt Rockney.
This is from CBS Sports 3 days ago. They have LSU 14. Best case scenario, worst case scenario is kind of the theme of this writing. It's really short and sweet. So here we go. Best case scenario: 11-1 overall, 8-1 in the league. The bad news: the only SEC elite not on Lane Kiffin's first year schedule is Georgia. They're getting the top half of the league. The good news, the Tigers just spent more on talent than they ever have previously, and have assured the coaching staff that guaranteed production is coming across all position groups. Kiffin has preached patience this offseason, but let's face it, failing to reach the college football playoff in year one would not meet expectations. So there you go. So
Yeah.
they are expected to be a top 8 team, but the schedule is going to knock down their preseason ranking.
If they
so
win-
eight, Charlie's probably he's got a chance because these pollsters got to get it. It's not a power rating; it's a prediction. And LSU's schedule is what's LSU's? LSU should be close to Notre Dame next year, huh? Telling me they can't be competitive with Notre Dame?
I think they should beat Notre Dame.
Okay. So if it's and Notre Dame's win total is 11.5. LSU's is 8.5.
I'd take Notre Dame over LSU.
If you gave Notre Dame this schedule,
Notre Dame would be a slight favorite over LSU.
I'd take them
Yeah.
over LSU.
Yeah.
you make them play Texas and
Oh, yeah.
Alabama
No.
and A&M and Clemson. Clemson, down as they are, better than any non-conference game they got on their
A
schedule.
little bit. We're still trying to figure out Notre Dame too. A little bit of a fortuitous draw that year. You play you play Aller in there, and he poos on himself. You play a quarterback who's first
Yeah, you
ever
got
start
Georgia.
in the Sugar Bowl.
Stockton, yeah.
That was the big one.
A lot returning this year, though, for them.
They do,
Carr.
and I like Carr.
Yeah.
I think Carr is good, and their roster is certainly better. They got everything. They got a little bit more aligned than they when BK was there to try and roster build. So and your boy's a star. He's good. He's a good head coach. It's a good program.
Yeah,
Robert.
Marcus Freeman, very much
Yes,
so.
yes, indeed. Don't forget our friends at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations for Baton Rouge, including their newest location just down the street from here at Walk-Ons on Burbank, at Burbank and Bluebonnet. That's right, United Community Bank. Running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you are a partner. Our great team of bankers, Prentice Wilkes, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. Stop on by and see how we can help your business today. United Community Bank, member FDIC.
Equal housing lender.
Thank you, Charlie.
Live at the original walk-ons, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original walk-ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's go out to Las Vegas, talk to Matt Humans as we do each and every week at this time for a couple more weeks through Derby Day, and we'll get some updates and we'll get some fast food.
He gets the summer off. How come I don't get the summer off?
I don't know. Matt, how you doing, buddy?
I don't get the summer off, Hanny. I've got 4 hours to do every night on VSIN, and it's a long summer. Let me tell you, when you're talking about baseball, NBA playoffs, and hockey, and occasionally horses and a golf major. But the off season, outside of football and college football and college basketball, not my favorite time of the year.
You haven't really done talk radio till you've done it in July.
Yeah, no,
I know.
That's why I go to Del Mar for 3 weeks every summer. So.
Yeah, well, you do sports radio or TV in May, June, and July. That's when you really get paid. You earn your money. But I will say I'm looking forward to the NFL draft this week. This one event I always like.
Hey, our buddy Max is on assignment. Guess where next week? He is going to Chicago. So, of course, a Portillo's is a must-stop. I mean, damn it, if they could send it in the mail and it's still damn good, that Italian beef, that's pretty damn impressive. But give him a breakdown of Portillo's or anything else where you spent so much of your time.
So why is Max going to Chicago? What's there?
Work, a little work assignment.
Bet Rivers production.
Oh, yeah,
gotcha.
we're originally from
Yeah.
Chicago. So
Yeah.
All right, gotcha. So am I. But I will say that there are a lot of great Chicago food spots. Portillo's is top 5 for me in fast food franchises because it's a national chain. But you got to get the Italian beef with sausage combo with the gardenia peppers. You got to get the Chicago dogs. Just got to basically sample that entire menu. But the go-to is the Italian beef and sausage combo with the hot peppers. And everything on that menu is outstanding. But that's the first thing you got to get. And when I lived in Chicago, actually, I went there about 5 or 6 days a week. There was one a couple blocks from my house. But if you're from Chicago, you also know, Max, that there are about 100 different Chicago food places you can go to. You don't have to go to Portillo's. That just happens to be a national chain, and that's why it's so popular.
Okay. That's good to know. I'll have the Italian beef and sausage.
He's
Sure.
staying away from. I don't know if he can handle the Due or Uno deep dish pizza. That might put like a bowling ball in his stomach. So, but I tell you what, man, the bratwurst with the peppers and onions at Wrigley Field ain't bad as well. So it's not the Milwaukee Brats, but it's damn close. So, I mean, Chicago's it's a great place, man. Love staying downtown, getting on the train, drop off in right field, Wrigley Field. It's pretty damn tough.
Mid-60s, by the way, so I'm excited for Wrigley.
You're lucky.
Never been to Chicago, so.
There you go. All right. Well, the Masters, your thoughts? I mean, I guess we start off. Did Rory win it or the rest of the field lose it?
Well, I thought Rory was lucky that so many other guys choked down the stretch because if he had a 2-stroke lead going to the last hole, and if that stroke was won, I think he would have blown it. And obviously, he bogeyed the last hole, but that last drive he hit. The bottom line is, I had Justin Rose 60-1, second year in a row. He came up short. He had a 2-stroke lead. He went to 11. He piped his drive. He's sitting there in the fairway, and there's water left of the tee, and he keeps backing off his shot. And I'm going, no, don't do this. Come on. And then he gets scared and hits the far right of the green, bogeys, and he flubs a chip on the next hole, bogeys again, game over for him. Scotty, I also had a lot of tight end to Scotty, too little, too late. He made his big charge, but he blew too many opportunities on the par fives on the back on Thursday and Friday, and that's where he lost the tournament. I thought he was the best player throughout the week. but obviously left a couple shots out there, and that putt on 17 that didn't drop. I still can't believe that. But, hey, man, give Rory credit. I guess I've never seen anyone drive into the trees so many times in a golf tournament and win it. And I guess you give him credit for scrambling and saving par, pulling birdies out of his back pocket. But I thought Rory was really lucky that a lot of those guys choked and came up short.
If he won it on Friday, right? The last 6 holes on Friday. That if he won it, he won it on Friday.
You can strokes count all the same, but it built it. But for him, everybody's crying on Friday. The tournament's over, and then he's 3 strokes behind on Sunday. So, but man, the rest of the field really, really it was just one after the next. Okay, here comes Sam Burns. Here comes Cameron Young. Here comes Justin Rose. Here comes Hung Tong Lee. Man, he went. It was just everybody. It's unbelievable a sport, and I'm newer to this sport than you guys, but it's unbelievable. We see this with team sports. The teams that are on a chase, that are climbing back into the game, or trying to be aggressive to get back in the game, and as soon as they get to the lead and get a taste of being on that leaderboard, man, it's a different mentality and approach. See our boy O'Bear.
Yep.
So it's unreal.
Even for a veteran like Rose, that stage, even for a veteran like that.
He's got to be the worst. It's losing a lot of sleep, with running out of chances here at Augusta and being so close.
He's losing sleep. I have too. I had him 125. Seriously, I had this guy. I had him 125-1 last year. And he had the tournament won. Yeah, he missed the putt on 17 last year. He was going to win that tournament. This time, I said, all right, this is his 21st time at Augusta. He's got a 2-stroke lead. This is his time. And he choked again. You think about it, a guy's been playing there for 2 decades, so what are you going to do? I thought it was a hell of a tournament in terms of drama. I wish it was a 1-stroke lead instead of 2 on the final hole. Then we really would have had something. But anyway, move on, and Scotty's going to win a major.
Okay. So Sunday, let me fill you in. Sunday, 3:05 Central Time, so 1:05 your time. Max, where are we in the tournament at that time? Sunday, 3:05 Central Time. Rose is probably on 10.
No, there wouldn't be there. They'd be still in the front 9. Rory would be.
Our buddy, our NBA contributor, sends me this and says, I'm sitting on Justin Rose at plus 1,500 with smiley faces. The old early call, huh?
Yeah, he would have been leading at that
point. Wow.
He's been betting golf a long time, huh, Matt?
I was going to say, it's, a lot of people forget, and I mentioned this on VSiN last week, and everybody said, the tournament's over, it's done. A year ago, Rory had a 5-stroke lead on the 9th hole, and he blew it. He had to win in the playoff. That was a 5-stroke lead on the 9th hole on Sunday, right? And people were saying it's over because he had a 6-stroke lead on Friday. Those golf tournaments get wild on Sundays, and you're absolutely right what you said about the chasers. The aggressors almost always catch up, and the leaders get conservative, and they're scared. Just Justin Rose gets a 2-stroke lead. He gets conservative. He gets scared, and he blows it. But you're right, the chasers, and then when they get there, when they take their spot on the leaderboard, then they start to choke. It's wild when you watch golf. And for anybody who likes to hedge, golf is the most difficult hedging sport of all. Because there are a lot of times there's 5 or 6 guys you can win. It's just very difficult for you to hedge on Sunday.
Oh, it is a brutal sport. You got to be very, very, very patient. And I'm a hedge as much as anybody. Yeah, it's like hedging a damn pick 6 at a horse race. Give me a break. It's just not what you want to do. College basketball, that's number 1 on hedging. I got to ask you though, even with all this being said, 2-stroke lead, bogey or better. Should Rory have been a little bit more scared with that choice of club on 18 when his driver was failing him so much?
Yeah, obviously, I was hoping he was going to hit his driver into the woods there on 18. But it's whatever. It's done. Let's turn the page. And talk about something else.
All right, CBS's coverage. Before we move on, what'd you think?
Well, I think their coverage is generally solid, but they got to change a couple things. get Trevor Immelman off there as the analyst. That guy is so bad. And it's not just the way he talks. He talks like a sweet little man, but he doesn't make any really insightful comments. He's just always Captain Obvious and never really gives you the insights you want from somebody who's a really good analyst or make some bold statements or something. You know who would be great in that seat would be a guy like Phil Mickelson, right? And Mickelson would make some statements, and that would make the broadcast so much better. Get Immelman out of there. That's the number one thing to improve. And obviously, their camera work on the ET and some of the other stuff was comical. But, the Masters, not my favorite major, and a lot of reasons. The Masters controls a lot about the TV coverage as well, what the commentators can say and how conservative they have to be, and all that stuff bothers me, too.
Phil might be looking for that job.
Yeah. So everybody else, he's already got. Everybody's got their opinions on him already, so he's not worried about any popularity contest.
Right.
Just let it rip. So he might be in the guy. So yeah, maybe him and Billy Walters in studio on the coverage together. Hey, so any draft bets that you have right now? We're going to be pushed up against the wall and a lot of movement. It might be some opportunities at certain prices might be gone. Who are you looking at right now on your draft sheet?
It's interesting because I was talking about this yesterday on Mitch Moss and Paul Howard's shows. In past years, I've had anywhere from 15 to 35 bets on the NFL draft. Right now, I've got 4. And I don't know how many more I'm going to be able to come up with by draft time. I'll probably come up with, to where I get to 10 or 12. But, in Vegas right now, there's not one NFL draft prop posted anywhere. So you got to go to DraftKings, FanDuel, maybe look on Kalshi, whatever. I haven't done that yet. But I've got quarterbacks drafted in the first round over 1.5. I initially bet that at minus 215, really bad number. I just bet it again over minus 120 and said I'm going to double down. Adam Schefter said about a month ago, I'm really confident Ty Simpson's going to be a first-round pick. And when Schefter said that, that market moved from 215 up to 270. And now it's dropped all the way to 120 because people are trying to figure out, all right, who's the team that's going to take Ty Simpson in the first round? Probably not going to be the Browns. Probably not going to be the Jets. I would say it's going to be the Cardinals or the Steelers. And are they going to have to trade back into the final 5 or 6 picks of the first round to get Ty Simpson? Here's the deal. There's supply and demand with quarterbacks. After Simpson, there's a huge drop-off to the number 3 or number 4 quarterback prospects on the board. So if you need one, and the Cardinals need one, you can't really mess around. You have to get Ty Simpson. And they like him, and the Steelers like him too. I bet Simpson to the Cardinals plus 130, Simpson to the Steelers plus 900. Quarterbacks over 1.5. I did take wide receivers under 5.5 at minus 115. I think there's going to be 5, not 6 wide receivers in the first round.
Yeah, and this is going to be a turning of the page too. First time with Charlie, second time in like the last 20 years. So SEC's not going to have the most first rounders, and I think I'm going under on their first round. The number that they put out as well.
16 of the last 17 they've
16 out the last 17. So anyway, football country. When I think of gritty football, I think of Wes Reynolds giving me Air Supply quotes. So
unprecedented coverage at Indiana's Pro Day.
How much did he spend on the road trips to go see Indiana in the playoffs?
I don't know, but I got to say it's a priceless experience. I mean, it was worth it. If you think about being an Indiana football fan your whole life, and there's the worst program in the major conferences, and then Kurt Signetti comes into his best coaching job maybe in the history of the sport. I'm still having trouble when you watch these Indiana Pro Days and you're seeing defending national champion Indiana. You're like, that just doesn't.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And so, but hey, man, the Big Ten's king right now. 3 different teams. They're going to have the most players. Everything about it. You got to tip your hat, and they got a basketball championship as well. I mean, it was.
You got a women's basketball championship, and they got the best team in college baseball right now.
Yeah, so they're hey. Rightfully so. They are top. And, we identified that with the SEC last year about 4 games. Man, they don't have these super SEC teams like they've been. So, this distribution of talent is, their quality, their pros on the 2 deeps, not there anymore. Matt, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you next week and get your second page of your NFL draft bets.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, you bet. We'll see you.
All right, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Live at the original Walk-Ons, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the original Walk-Ons on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Pirates surrender a 3 spot in the top of the 5th, and that's still batting 3-0 Washington in the 3rd. Giants and Reds are Giants have the worst record in baseball? I think so.
Yeah, that sounds right.
They are scoreless in the middle of the 6th. I'm watching Tony Vitello.
Chase Burns is on the hill there. Got 6 shutout innings.
Okay, the former Tennessee and Wake Forest standout. I'm just watching to see how this goes. We've never seen anything like this. A college coach going to the big leagues. So, and I'm not saying that they're 6-12 because of anything he's done. Probably
with their struggles, and they have the worst record in baseball. They've looked to that, and he's been getting approval rating. He's been handling the different level and handling coexisting with billionaire players very well.
Oswald Peraza with a 2-run homer for the Angels to get them out, but Judge has answered with a solo homer. That's his 3rd of the series. No, that's his 4th of the series.
This has been it's a great series. It really is.
Judge's 4th home run of the series has cut the lead in half. That is 2-1 now, and they are in the 2nd inning. So that's a little quick Major League Baseball update for your scores. Walk-ons here this weekend. Your time 6 o'clock Friday, 7 o'clock Saturday, and 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon for LSU baseball.
What time Saturday?
7 o'clock.
Okay, 2 night games. Okay.
2 night games, so you got all day to do whatever and come on by here early. Catch yourself something to eat, something to drink before you head over for LSU and Texas A&M. Gymnastics this afternoon on ESPN2 as LSU's in the national semifinals trying to make the finals on Saturday. They need to get in the top 2. Florida, Georgia, and Stanford are the other 3 teams in the regional, and the other semifinal is tonight. That's with Oklahoma in that group on the other side. For Max and Jimmy, for Jordan back in the studio, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.